So good afternoon and welcome to Northamptonshire Community Foundation's Black History Month webinar. We're coming together to recognise and celebrate some of the Black voluntary and community sector organisations that we've funded over the years in Northamptonshire. And this is also an opportunity to take the time to listen and learn from the Black VCSE sector organisations who've been striving to reduce inequalities in their communities that they're facing, and have also experienced a very challenging time during the pandemic. This year's theme of Black History Month is Proud to Be, and I'm sure that each of our guest speakers today is going to be able to share some of the many reasons that they are proud of their organisations and tell us about their achievements. We've asked today's speakers to tell us about the history of their organisation, what projects they're currently working on, and what needs there are for their communities and what they hope for in the future. So I'd like to introduce today's guest speakers. So we have Anne Wankiri from United African Association, we have Rumbi Mukoyi from African Youth Arise, and Marcia Walker from Northampton Carnival Arts Consortium and Northamptonshire Black History Association. So it would be great to start off with Anne Wankiri from United African Association. So Anne, if you would like to kick us off by telling us about how United African Association started and the history of your group.
Thank you very much, Alex. As Alex explained, I run the United African Association. The organization itself was formally launched in July 2014, and the aim was to bring African individuals and community organizations together under one umbrella so that each organization has specialist services that cater to the needs of the African people. Since its launch and prior to the pandemic, we were doing a lot of one-to-one support, typically averaging about 20 people a week, supporting them with a variety of issues, whether it be housing, benefits, or immigration matters, which tends to be still up to this day a big problem within the African community. Since the pandemic, we have been doing larger projects, the largest project of which is our food bank. We recognize the fact that there's a lot of people with no recourse to public funds who work in the healthcare sector. And then when the pandemic hit, the care homes reduced the amount of agency workers, a lot of whom were Africans, come into the care homes and the nursing homes. So that meant because they weren't eligible for benefits, their income suddenly stopped or got reduced, because they'd gone from 5 to 6 days a week to 1 or 2 days a week. So then they were actually struggling for food. A lot of people with no recourse to public funds have the right to work, but no right to benefits. So a lot of them have young children, and even the children that are born here don't have any benefits. So they're not entitled to child benefits, or the parents aren't entitled to housing benefits. So the food bank has become our biggest activity, and without fail, every week we've been providing food to families. It started off with about 20 families. It's increased to, we're supplying food to about 100, just under 100 families each week, really, with the help of Northamptonshire Community Foundation, which is the first funder to provide food. We've been able to provide food regularly. Some people have gone back to work, and then we've had more people come to the fore. We are trying to reduce the number of food parcel recipients by working with organizations such as the Hope Centre, who do social supermarkets. So we've been doing that. So that's been our biggest activity. A lot of people may know our next activity, which is the African drumming. We've been doing the African drumming for, many years. So we perform at community events, mainly free of charge. We've done at the Carnival, we've done many community events, mental health events, such as one we had on Sunday at the Wacker Centre in Wellingborough. We do the befriending services, and that activity actually started during the pandemic. The council, what used to be Northampton Borough Council, referred people who were lonely and isolated to us. So it was telephone befriending. We're actually now starting to meet some of those who we started befriending. Unfortunately, And fortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, we've been actually able to intervene in places where emergencies have occurred, because the isolated person has been in a critical situation, has been able to contact the friend they've made contact with, and then been able to contact the emergency services for health situations. Recently, in partnership with NHFT and NHS, we've started a series of Zoom sessions which address the inequalities the Black population face, where there's high risk of health crises such as diabetes. We're going on to HIV, strokes, prostate cancer. So we're trying to address those health inequalities through a series of Zoom sessions that doctors and other medical staff are providing us. And we're doing probably about 2 to 3 sessions of those each week up until March, going to address other conditions such as strokes and autism, which seem to be quite prevalent in the Black community, in particular the African community. We're also doing a poverty study with the Hope Centre. So that's combining different BAME groups, so we can address the poverty, what the different situations they see within the poverty reasons, why they feel what they see as priority within poverty that may be different from what the normal British person may see. So we've had the African groups who've done one session with the Hope Centre. We've also had the African Muslim groups who tend to be a bit different from the rest of the African population. And we're going to be having sessions with the Caribbean community, Eastern European communities, and we might actually do some with the West European communities as well. So we're going to be holding some sessions over the coming months with those. A few months ago, what used to be Northampton Borough Council contacted us because they were concerned about the low uptake of vaccines within the African community. And we pointed out to them that some people want to take the vaccine, but because they're undocumented, can't have the vaccine. So together with public health, we've been running a series of vaccination clinics to get people vaccinated, encouraging people who are undocumented and those who are documented to come and get their vaccine, and just really promoting the message about having the vaccination clinic. So that's been a really active thing, and we're going to carry on with that with the Community Champions program that we're involved with in partnership with Support Northamptonshire and Asher Deep. Another thing that's come out of the pandemic is the one-to-one support, which has absolutely ballooned since the pandemic. As I mentioned before, we're getting about 20 cases a week. Now we're getting about 200 cases a week. Housing, poverty, health, immigration, benefits, and or lack of benefits, and of particular concern for those with no recourse to public funds. So we're working with those calls come through. We get calls, we get referrals from social services, we get referrals from the council, from other organizations, and some are self-referrals of that. So we're helping them with a variety of things. Some could be something small, like they've got no clothing for their children. So then we make a referral to Grow Baby to supply clothing and other children's toiletries. We were fortunate enough to get a grant from Northampton Sports to do a ladies swimming session, and that's been absolutely fantastic. We've had over 40 ladies sign up to that, most of whom were learners. The activity, as it wasn't actually supposed to be for learners, it was supposed to be for competent swimmers. But I think out of the group of about 40, there's only about 3 ladies that can swim. So we've been learning, we've been enjoying that, forming friendships. That's been really, really good for ladies' well-being. And there's been a lot of positive feedback from that activity. So really, really grateful for that. Another activity we've been doing is an outreach program with Citizens Advice. So Sarah from Senka kindly came on board and has offered to do an outreach program once a week in our office with 4 participants to begin with, who address their issues, which she then goes away and attempts to help them with. And the last current activity we're doing is the collection of medical equipment. We've got, there's a lot of need on the continent of Africa. So there's a lot of redundant equipment in the UK that would get crushed or burnt or whatever. So we collect that, and then we work with individuals who export items and ask them to export these items free of charge, mainly to clinics and hospitals in Africa. So they do that for us. So we collect beds, gloves, masks, uniforms. So we get donations of those from individuals, companies, other charities. So we've been doing that for the last few years now, and the people in Africa are really, really grateful because they wouldn't have access to this equipment otherwise. So those are the current projects we are doing. For the future projects, our main concern, I think, is for those with no recourse to public funds, because there doesn't seem to be an end to poverty. A lot of the people with no recourse to public fund work in low paid jobs. So they are unable to claim benefits, or they struggle with rent, so they don't have access, they're not eligible for council housing. So they're just really, really living on the breadline. We continue to support them with the food parcels, but we are concerned that as the grant amounts decrease, that there will be that struggle, and we don't know what, and that's why we keep going with the food parcel program, because we know that without our help, they've got absolutely no way of gaining food, because they're not known to the system, they're not known to the authorities. It's just they just approach us direct and rely on us to supply them with food parcels. We're really, really grateful to Northamptonshire Community Foundation to continue providing food grants so that we can continue to help these people. Another future project we hope to do is IT sessions. We have a lot of people that come with qualifications from Africa that are not, they're not digital. We've got accountants who use ledger books to do the accounts. They want to go into IT, they want to learn the IT. One of the barriers that has prevented them from accessing the normal evening classes is that many people work shifts. So they can't then go on to these programs because maybe once in every 2 or 3 weeks they're working a night shift, so they can't attend the evening program or the day programs, because that will kind of mess with their work. And their priorities are, of course, their bills and supporting the people, their friends, relatives in Africa. So we're hoping that to start a digital program in the next few months. We're hoping to apply for funding for that soon. We're just getting things together. We've got a tutor together. We've got a list of people wanting to do IT. So we're going to work with that and people's schedules to try and get those so that they can come off the lower paid jobs and work in IT. We've got teachers who've never touched a computer, don't know what to do, don't know how to log on to Zoom. So we're going to try and get those sessions up and running and look forward to that. That's my, and the final thing that we hope for, and we've been trying to work with that, is for an African centre. We're desperate for an African centre, as are many organisations and individuals within the community. It's not just an organisation that's going to showcase our culture, but it's going to be inviting everybody in to introduce them to our culture, have a one-stop shop so that people can come and really address their issues and gain information. And we'll also use that as a bridge for the other organisations, the councils, the police, and other organisations to then come and then meet the people that they actually call hard to reach. And that's the end of my say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne. And if there's any photos or anything that you want to share, please feel free to do that now, just while I sort of sum up. But the amazing sort of work that I've seen the United African Association do in terms of sort of starting sort of our funding relationship with you, and hearing about how you're expanding your services to reach so many people who are in need. Like you said, there are people out there who have really struggled because of the no recourse to public funds. which for anybody who's joined us today doesn't know what that is, it means that they're not able to access benefits because of either their sort of immigration status or because they're self-employed. There's lots of different reasons why somebody might not be able to access public funds and benefits. And obviously, as we can all imagine, that's been a really tough time during the pandemic for people to cope with in terms of job losses and people being made unemployed. So it's amazing to hear about all the things that you're planning to do next and how your work is obviously started a main need around food, but as you said, you've looked at befriending the fantastic stuff that you're doing with the swimming and how that's going to help build confidence among the women in your community and provide new skills. And as you said, the ongoing part of that is the digital work. So I can see you've got some photos up. So if you want to go ahead and share those with us and maybe give a bit of story behind each photo. Oh, you're just on mute at the moment, Anne. We've done Zoom bingo now.
Yeah, so outside, at the end of the food parcel session on Saturdays, we normally have like a catch up. So a few of the volunteers stay behind. And the gentleman who's back to us is actually one of the gentleman that was referred to us by the council because he was isolated. So he comes and shares a cup of tea with us on a Saturday after. He catches up and tells us how his week has gone. He's involved in a lot of activities, but I think it's mainly the loneliness that is doing many of the activities alone. So through this, he's able to kind of enjoy a cup of tea and then get a weekly call after that in the week, just ask how his week is going. And he really enjoys coming, getting to know us. He's well traveled, so he's got lots of stories to tell us in that one. Let me see what the next picture is. Okay, the next picture is our African drumming. We recently had a session outside a few weeks ago, and as you can see, our African drumming group, which anybody and everybody is invited to on this session, by the way, is free of charge on Thursday evenings at Leicester Street Community Room. We invite anybody and everybody to come and join us. It's really a diverse group. We've got Africans, we've got Portuguese, we've got Jamaicans, we've got Latvians, Lithuanians, so Pakistanis, we've got everybody, people of all nationalities on the African drumming group, and it's really, really interesting and quite diverse. Yes. Let's see, next picture. Yeah, this is a picture from our food club. We've got about a bank of about 50 volunteers on that who help on Saturdays. They obviously don't come every Saturday, but we do have those. And what we do provide in our food parcels is African food content. So we provide like the grains, the maize meal for those people who come from East Africa. We'll provide the fufu for those who come from West Africa, and maybe the couscous for those who come from North Africa. So we try and provide food that's suitable for their diet, which we're really, really grateful for. Let's see if we can come up with the next picture. Yeah, that picture was taken on the first session that we did as part of the poverty study that we're doing with the Hope Centre. We've got the Hope Centre volunteer, Andrew, who's taken the notes, and we helped facilitate the session in our office at Barrett House. Let's see if there's any okay. See if that comes up. I've got a couple more photos. Right, that photo was taken from a recent swimming session. As I say, we've got some fantastic instructors at the Mounts who've really been making the ladies gain confidence, and they're actually now saying that they're going to take their families swimming, whereas they're too scared to actually have their children go for swimming. They're not now confident enough to have to take their family for swimming and engage in other activities. They want to go cycling and do other things. And there's a lot. It's great to see all the friendships that have been formed in this activity. The last picture is from one of the vaccination clinics we held at the Hindu Centre in Wellingborough last in August, where over 250 people attended and had the vaccine done. As I say, it's open to all, but it was nice for people who've never had the chance to have the vaccine actually get that vaccine done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne. That was great, and thank you for taking us through that. So now on to Rumbi. Rumbi is from the African Youth Arise organisation. I believe she's also got a young person who's from her organisation who might be joining in with the talk as well. So Rumbi, if you've got anything to share in terms of sharing on your screen, please feel free to go ahead. But if you'd first like to start off by telling us about the history of your organisation.
Yes, of course. Good afternoon, Alex, and everyone else that's in the room. I did not realize that I was presenting to that many people. But yeah, really glad to be here, and happy Black History Month to everyone. And thank you, Alex, and your team for organizing this session. I am going to try, I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation. I promise it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. But I'm just going to share, just give me a few moments whilst I find my screen that I need to share. In the meantime, I'm going to ask Bree, who is one of our mentees, or the young person who we work with currently, to just introduce herself.
Hi, sorry, my screen is a bit dark. I hope you can see. So what's happening with my lighting, but yeah, my name is Brianna. I am one of the participants and client at African Youth Arise. I am currently a student at Sunderland University in London, and I was introduced to African Youth Arise through a former client and a participant of the organization. During that time when I was introduced to African Youth Arise, I was going through some challenges. Basically, my mom is suffering with cancer at the current moment, and she's going through chemo and few treatments. So she currently needs, you know, somebody to be there with her all the time, and I am her care provider. At the same time of being her care provider, I go to university, and it's been so challenging because at the current stage, I'm working on my last module, which is a work placement. So I got introduced to Rumbi and her organization through a friend, because my friend realized I was having some difficulties dealing with, you know, my mom having cancer and dealing with uni. She introduced me to African Youth Arise, which by then I spoke to Rumbi. She gave me an apprenticeship program, which helped me at the same time to get an understanding of what our organization does and what they do. And they helped me, she's helped me through to, you know, understand work, you know, the workplace, what happens in the workplace. And during that time, I approached it with my situation regarding my mom. As you know, like, you know, parents of African descent find it really hard to understand, you know, medical terms and things like that. So I told her, like, right now, my mom is from Africa. She really doesn't understand what's going on. So I'm a care provider. And she kind of like told me, you know, spoke to me, got me through to some programs. One of the programs that she got me into was Happy Living Tools, because she realized I was going through a bit of some depression mode. Yeah, but they've helped me. They've helped me as one of the youth. They've showed me some, you know, the ways of how to handle my mom and just how to handle workplaces. Yeah, and I thank them for everything. And they've offered me an apprenticeship program, at the mentorship program. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thanks, Bree. Thanks for, you know, I know that we've been working together for quite some time, and it's been a pleasure working with you. And thanks for coming on board to also just share your story. So in terms, just in brief, my name is Rumbi Mukoyi. I am the founder of African Youth Arise. I started the organization in 2013. I used to work with Zim women. So really, I was birthed, I guess my passion was birthed from Zimmerman. And Zimmerman is one of the, I think, organization that sort of like established and really made me realize the sort of need that there was in the African community. So I've just got a picture there of some of the activities and some of the young people that we've worked with over the years. So just an introduction really to African Youth Arise. We are a community-based organization which works with young people of African descent aged between 11 to 25. Based in Northamptonshire. I know it's quite a wide range, but they are different programs for different age groups. The aim really is to enrich, enhance the lives of young people, mainly in the UK, with a variety of educational workshops. We tend to have a workshop approach into learning because we want to move them away from, I guess, the sort of like school environment. And we create a space, I guess, where it's voluntary, where they are willing to come and learn, not where they're forced to come and learn. AYA has a management committee, as I said. It's a community-based organization, and all of our mentors and anyone that we work with or anyone who works with our young people has to be DBS checked, because we know that working with young people is really important for us to safeguard young people and for us to be safeguarded. Our mission really is to pursue excellence for young people, with an emphasis of instilling values such as respect, discipline, and work ethic. We help young people really prepare to participate and be active citizens of the global community. I think, like in the last year, we've realized that, like, I think more and more so, we've realized that actually we live in a global sort of like village, but what we really want is to start preparing young people at a really young age for the environment that they're going to have to operate in. And we also believe that every young person deserves to have access to opportunities, anyone who is talented, okay? So we've operated since 2013, and we have been facilitating personal growth programs, I would say, or workshops to over 900 young people, and we support and we're being supported by different organizations. We realized actually there's a gap that some organizations, in terms of, when I say some organization, I guess for African young people, they might not have access to those. So in terms of like schools, in terms of just tapping into what Anne was talking about, that they don't necessarily have access to, that they're not yet equipped to respond to the young people of African descent. And that's for different reasons, really. I come from a Zimbabwean sort of like background, and most Zimbabwean and maybe most Southern African sort of communities started settling here in the last 20 years. So they've had to really come and settle, build themselves up, really acquaint themselves to different systems and stuff like that. And it takes a lot to get used to that. And by the time that, sometimes that families start to think about their young people or their children, sometimes it's too late. So we wanted to be that organization that is there to really support a young person who has moved or who's been born in an African family, especially like Southern African. So I guess, like, in terms of with the support of corporate sponsors and community funders, such as Northamptonshire Community Foundation, we've been able to offer different programs to young people that I'll delve into shortly. So I had sort of like prepared a little icebreaker because I thought we were going to be a small group. And this is one of the icebreakers that we use when our young people when we're engaging our young people into our sessions. So we run at least about 3 sessions per month, and they are in a hybrid. So we're taking sort of like the pandemic Initially, we used to meet in Kettering and Northampton, but now we're using sort of like a hybrid sort of like model where we meet online and we also meet physically. So in terms of like when we get into the room, despite whether we are online or we are in a specific room, we will use this this model that I've put on your screen. And what that does is like it helps us, one, create boundaries with young people and sort of like, I guess, create expectations where we agree how we're going to operate within that group. We don't necessarily call them rules, I guess, because as I said, we're trying to move away from that formal route. And so on. So we use like, we use what we call the 5-finger rule. And that 5-finger rule really is about, like the term, it's all about encouraging one another because it's already really tough. Some of our young people that we work with, they are battling, they're battling depression, they are battling racism, they are battling bullying at school, they're battling all sorts of things. So when we get into that environment, we really want it to be safe for them. So encouragement is one of them. Ensuring that everyone is included in the conversations. Most of the conversations I have with some of the young people that we work with is around, actually, I don't feel like I'm part of this community. I don't feel like I am part of, as much as I go to school, I don't feel like I'm actively part of it. And what we want to create is the moment they step into that space and to ensure that they are included and nobody is singled out. We talk about respect. We use the middle finger. They always laugh around this. Like when I say the middle finger, they're possibly thinking of, some other words that they get, the rudest words they can think of. But this is really about respecting themselves, respecting the space that we're in, and respecting each other. Then in terms of engagement, obviously we do value their contribution as young people. So in terms of like, we really encourage them to be engaged with what we're doing, because the moment they are engaged, also they'll be able to transfer that into school, to transfer that into work. And the moment they are engaged, they will feel as if they'll feel included. Then in terms of the pinky finger, it's about the little things. I always say, having manners really will take you a long way. So we encourage them, just being polite, just being courteous to everyone. So I'm going to talk about our current work in terms of what we've currently done at the moment. I've listed a few of our funders, some of our partners in terms of that we've worked with over the years. Our organization has been growing, not that because that we're brilliant, but I think we've grown based on the partnerships that we've engaged in. So in terms of our current work, we currently provide bespoke workshops and mentoring programs and events for teams of young people to corporates. For example, in terms of we have over 100 new members signing up every year. We saw an increase actually in terms of like in the pandemic, we were having 150 young people signing up after every 3 months, which led us really to divide our programs into 3 cohorts. So we ran 3 cohorts per year. We ran the summer, autumn, and the winter cohort. And some of the programs that we are currently engaging in is we currently have been funded the Fitness, Health and Nutrition Wellbeing Program that's been funded by Northamptonshire Community Foundation. And this consists of, step Afro step moves, swimming lessons, yoga, sort of like group fitness, nutrition, because some of our traditional foods in terms of like African foods, we are trying to find a way of how we can consume them in a healthy manner. Some of the methods are not the healthiest. So what we are trying to do is to explore African foods that are nutritious and everything else. And we are encouraging our young people to take walks and be fit. Especially in the winter months, it gets really difficult for young people to be outside. So we are really encouraging them to take walks. Then in terms of employability, one of the things that we realized, like as a young person myself, I moved to the UK when I was about 15. And one of the things that I found really challenging was getting into the workplace. And one of the things that we focus on at African Youth Arise is the employability skills. I'm a HR professional. Outside this, I work in the corporate space, and I deliver a number of trainings, and some of that I wanted to transfer that to young people so that we can raise the awareness and we can equip the young people at a really sort of like early stage. So we deliver CV writing workshops, career development, networking, and maximizing opportunities. Sometimes young people, they don't realize that actually opportunities are being presented to them. So it's about talking them through their opportunities and their developmental areas. One thing I'm really passionate about in terms of, like Anne was talking about poverty, one thing I'm very passionate about is, and us as a team, is financial literacy, ensuring that our young people are fully equipped when it comes to financial literacy. Because when they then move away from home and go to university, even when they step into the workplace, it's really important for them to know how to manage their own money and to make the right decisions when it comes to money. I mean, I learned the hard way. I had to battle through it. But now that we are aware and there are so many resources out there, we want to equip our young people. We set goals with them. We ensure that they're accountable, one, for their behavior, and accountable for everything else really that's within sort of like their world. And obviously it's important to work as a team within the workplace or university or at school, and ensure that they've got good communication skills. The other work,
just to give you a 2-minute sort of timestamp, as it were, just so we have enough time to hear from Marcia. So it sounds like you're doing some amazing work currently. And what do you feel like you want to do in the future as an organisation?
Okay, I'll just move on to that slide in terms of like so our future aspirations, I guess, around to have the best sort of like youth practices amongst young people within for African young people, to continue to create mentorship skills within our community. It's worked really well in terms of like the young people that we've worked with in the past, to collaborate with schools. I think it's one of the key things I think that we really need to focus on, and to find a way to work with schools, because there's a lot of issues that are happening in schools and that we end up dealing with as African Youth Arise, in terms of like bullying, racism, in terms of like parents actually, they find it really difficult to communicate with schools. Sometimes they are not, they're being ignored, and sometimes we end up helping parents to write letter. And the moment we write letters, and the moment we start doing that, we are seeing some responses from schools. To have a really good sort of like leadership training program for our young people, and also our volunteers. One of the things I think we struggle with is the sustainability of volunteers, because most of our volunteers are really young. So they go off to university. Some of them do come back and give back, but it's one of the things that we really want to strengthen. And I guess in terms of like strengthening relationship across all our service providers across Northamptonshire, in terms of the police, we've done a lot of work with the police in the past, but we really want to ensure that that is sustainable. We've done like sort of like one-off one of sort of like workshops when we are raising awareness around the rights of young people and stuff like that when they're stopped by the police on stop and search. It's one of programs we really want to create that relationship, because there's a problem within our community where our young people are being stopped and searched by the police, and there's a disproportionate around those figures when it comes to African young people. So I guess in terms of, you know, like our needs, it's to really, for us, we've managed to obtain short-term sort of like funding, and it would be great for us to get long-term funding, as this will enable us really to provide consistency to young people and sustainability across the programs that we offer across the county. I think Anne has tapped into it around having an African hub. One of the things that we really want to encourage our young people to do and to get involved in is to create a day where we have Africa Day celebrations, which is the 25th of April, and for it to be young people led, because they've got amazing, great ideas. And the other thing, I guess, is creating a trusting and relationship with parents mainly and the community leaders, because they give us access to the young people that we work with.
Thank you so much, Rumbi, and thank you, Brie, as well, for sharing your story. It's overwhelming, the amazing activities and projects that groups are doing to help their communities. So thank you so much for sharing that. And now we're going to go on to Marcia Walker, our last speaker, who is a representative of two organisations, which is Northampton Carnival Arts Consortium and also Northamptonshire Black History Association. And I believe my colleague is just going to get up the screen. Fantastic. So Marcia, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And if you'd like to sort of start off perhaps by telling us about Northampton Carnival Arts Consortium. Oh, Marcia, I think you might be on mute.
I am. There you are. I'll start again. Thank you very much to the previous speakers. You learn something new every day. I've learned more than one thing in your sessions. And the support, Brianna, as well. And a huge thank you to Northamptonshire Community Foundation for putting on this seminar. Black History Month, and I'm going to be so different, but it's good to have that difference because it's around organizations that the Community Foundation has supported. And for me, Black History Month takes two forms. It either has to be, because sometimes I think, oh, you know, the month is coming up, people are going to tick a box and say, I've done it, yeah? But it's either got to be a month where you have done work, and in the month, you celebrate, you share the work that you've been doing throughout a year or 2 years even. Or it's a stage in which something is mentioned and then during the month, and you or group or individuals make a decision to carry on that work, to actually learn a bit more. If everything happens in the month and it stops in the month, then to me that doesn't quite work. But if there can be either A, B, or a combination of A, B, then that the month is useful. Northampton Carnival Arts Consortium was set up under a kind of threat. Northampton Carnival itself had, when I arrived in Northampton in '73, had a life. There was a carnival for the town, led by cyclists, often collecting money for the hospital. Some people listening can remember those days. And then it stopped. A lot of rules and regulations came into being. Health and safety went mad. And it didn't help that people who had been doing the organization just felt absolutely overwhelmed. And Carnival just stopped for quite a number of years. And it was at a kind of art seminar that a person that I'd never met actually said, Marcia, Northampton is the capital town. Why don't you get a group of people together and bring Carnival back? Because Kettering has a carnival, Corby has a carnival, Wellingborough has a carnival, and what's happened to our capital town? And not one to shy away from challenges, I managed to group or gather, not by threats, I might add, but gather together a group of people who were all people of colour, Black colleagues, but with the support of white colleagues who were working for the Borough Council at the time, and we brought Northampton Carnival back to life, and it is the largest street event, certainly in Northampton and within the county. It is a community event, but we, when we were constituted, wanted it to have a Caribbean flavour. And we sort of stand by that we create a Caribbean flavour, we enable groups to join us and do their own thing, but the Caribbean flavour is what we are contributing to Northampton to give a gift of knowledge. And I remember the second year of Carnival, somebody came up, one of the groups came up and said, do you know, if Carnival didn't take place, the benefits that the organisation would have already brought to participants, those parading, of gathering together, creating things, certainly created health and well-being. We were quite pleased with that. I mean, we had a lady who had mental health issues, but 3 months leading up to Carnival, she was sewing, she went back in time, and her health issues just improved, almost like overnight, like a puff, and she became better. And we use this as a kind of mantra, that the Carnival is actually about gathering groups of people together prior to the day, working, having those groups work together, young and old, intergenerational, or however you want to do it. But on the day itself, gathering a kaleidoscope, I want to use that word, of organizations and people to actually showcase Northampton. That's what it does. It actually says, this is what's going on in Northampton, Northamptonshire, and actually then regionally and nationally, this is what's happening. To the point that we even look at food, and as already said, as drummers, they've come, they've played, and one year when they couldn't play, they actually were so annoyed with themselves. They found us another group that the Arts Council spotted, and ZCC from Wellingborough, and actually the Arts Council supported them in other projects that they wanted to do. And that showcases Northampton Carnival. We have charities, all those groups that don't have a big audience often, but at Carnival, they can come, they can walk the parade like Air Ambulance, love it, hand out leaflets, have a stall in the park, do a tombola, show Zim women, as you mentioned, Rumbi, you know, I look at them as your mother, the mother of two organizations, yes? And they would come and hand out leaflets. We've got drumming classes, we do this, we do the other. And listening to you, Rumbi, if we have a carnival next year, God willing, it'd be an opportunity to come, have a stall, perform on the stage. It's just a kaleidoscope of activities and events, which is Black-led. The folks love to see this beautiful picture that you've got on your screen. You know, it is just beautiful. And we now have local organizations that want to emulate that. They want to learn the art form. They want to learn how to do that. And we're only too happy to share that with them. Secondly, and I'm keeping my own time, Northamptonshire Black History Association. It's not so long ago this year that one of the councillors spotted in the newspaper, the Sunday Observer, where they were doing studies looking at Black people. It wasn't Black History Month, it was just general. And they actually highlighted Northamptonshire Black History Association as saying every county in the country should have a Northamptonshire Black History Association. And this was set up years ago by colleagues such as Paul Croft, Julia Bush from the university, Paul Bracey, Alan Howard, who looked to see the contributions that Black people had made throughout history in this county. And this really is the love of my life. And there's a synergy going on between Carnival and this, because Black history has supported Carnival. There is so much history out there that they started looking at contributions past, contributions present, because history is being made every day. We're making history at the moment. And it's how we record it and keep those records. But Peter the Saracen in 1206 was a crossbow maker living near the castle. And then you have James Chapel living over in the Corby direction. And you come closer to home and you find that history. But then you go into these beautiful big houses in the county and you find that history that we have. So Northamptonshire is a mixture, and we use that example of history by creating Carnival that gives us that feel of things that are historical. I wonder if you could go back to the previous photograph, because this is Bridgewater Primary School, and they just treat Carnival like a school activity. They learn about the history, because the history of Carnival doesn't, or in some Caribbean countries, or not just Caribbean, if you think about the Brazil Carnival and Trinidad, it takes place in February, and it's a religious festival, really. It's a pre-Lent festival, but the weather in this country doesn't lend itself to that, so we create things in the summer. But we've had schools that have done Carnival at at Lent time, and then come out. And this was the first time during lockdown, because we were online, that young people were able to get out. And some of them, you can see they made hats, but it was just an excuse to celebrate. And it was Carnival had done a workshop with them, and then filmed them coming out and playing and enjoying their day. So all of these things is about uniting the community and sharing things with the community. And if we can go back to our other photographs of the Carnival, for example, people are now wanting to design and make and build. And actually, some of the designs, an A-level student can design a costume. This is where we wanted to go into the curriculum, and it has done in some places. Although I was teaching way back in the 80s, I know a young lady who did do a design for A-level art and got a really good grade for it. So it's not just about the enjoyment of the day. And if we look at this, this is history. Sometimes the design of costumes project a history. Last Christmas, we were able to do a shop window reflecting the history, the costumes, you know, that tell a story within the Caribbean. They're not just about, you know, making a costume. They do tell a story. They're part of our history. And that's why I wanted to talk about the Black History Association, because at the moment we're looking at doing a project that might look at sound system, because Carnival, music, dance, drama, it's everything. It's all art forms. It's acknowledged as all art forms. And we are looking at reconstituting ourselves, because over the years as Carnival and Black History, both organizations have been asked, can you advise us for an artiste? Or it's recently, I think there was something come out about the Afghan community. Is there somebody out there that can work with the Afghan community, you know, to do artwork? And we've got different communities who come to us all the time when they want those big creative things, who come to the carnival, who come to Black History to say, have you got somebody that can help us, that can work with us? The one thing we need is a workspace. Yeah, we actually need an area, a space, a building where people can leave things, the sewing machine can come out. You know, when you want to sew, the glue can be left out, the pots, if you want to do tie and dye, can be left out. But also in that same space, as you can see, there's some examples of materials that Black History produced. That is there for people to be able to see. And if we're going to go to the African organization and they've got literature or things, it's there. But people are using the art form to break into learning and understanding. I'm excited at the moment, just share, I can't share many secrets with you, but I'm so excited at the moment that Graham McKechnie from BBC Radio Northampton has made an absolutely brilliant discovery. Watch this space, but it's about a rugby player. I'm just looking at Walter Tull. There's an equal transfer with that. I had made lots of notes. I'm very conscious of time, but I want people to know that both organizations are Black-led with white and Asian colleagues there. We have got, especially with Black History Association, there's got to be a conversation about the word and the use of the word Black, because some members of the community find it very hard because it encompasses our Asian communities, well, even our Chinese. We've done loads of stuff with the Asian community, loads of stuff with the Chinese. And for some of our young people, that is not young, actually, I mustn't say young people. For some people, they find that it's a word that may not be being used appropriately, but that has to be a big conversation, and we need to be prepared for that conversation because you've got Black Lives Matters and things like that. But Black History is now part of the National Historical Association. I think as Northamptonshire people, we should all be terribly proud, really, really proud that we've made that leap. That's by the Historical Association approaching Black History Association, sort of saying, you have some materials, you have things we want to do. And within the region, our carnival is seen as the most community-based. All we need is a bit more money to make things happen more easily, but definitely a building that can engage with the community as far as art form is concerned.
Thank you so much, Marcia, for giving us a snapshot of both of the organisations that you're involved in. It's great to hear from you and our other speakers, Anne and Rumbi and Bree, about the amazing work that's happening. Listening to it, I can hear obviously there's so much about partnership, there's so much about collaboration, and it's also about organisations adapting, evolving and expanding to meet the need and to sort of also challenge the inequalities that are faced within communities, but again, being proud and celebrating cultural differences and celebrating different aspects of history as well. So thank you so much to our speakers for sharing their past, present and future with us. And as part of Northamptonshire Community Foundation's commitment to the United Nations Goals of Sustainable Development, I've chosen to be the UN SDG champion for reducing inequalities, and I've been able to be involved in a community conversation around that issue. And so our next Global Goals Community Foundation conversation is going to be about UN SDG 16, so peace, justice and strong institutions. So please keep an eye out on our social media for more information on that. And then also this week, obviously the whole month is celebrating Black history, but this week there's also a focus on hate crime. So on Thursday, we are hosting Northamptonshire Rights and Equality Council, who are going to be providing a webinar for VCSE organisations to learn more about hate crime and how to help any members of staff or volunteers or beneficiaries who may be experiencing hate crime. So please keep an eye out for that as well on our social media. And lastly, thank you to everyone who's joined us today to take the time to celebrate. And I urge you all to have a look, to search out for these organisations, to pass on the knowledge that you've learned from today about these groups and so many more groups that are within the county. This webinar has been recorded today, and we're going to be sharing that. We would have liked to have had a bit of time to do question and answers, but to be honest, I feel like Rumbi, Anne and Morsia gave us so much food for thought, and I've learned so much today, so thank you so much. And I'd like to wish everybody a good afternoon. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.